What's up, internet friends, and welcome to the Isn't It Crazy podcast. I don't have a guest this week just because I had a pretty busy weekend, and I'll tell you guys all about it. But for the time being, I'll keep my friend Ari Gold there. I just got that canvas and probably wanted to show off before I hang it up on one of these walls, but I love it. I love staring at it. I don't know why. I think it's like the episode and what it means. But before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Plantitas. It's an artificial and real plant company where you can get custom orders and just put these little plants around your room just to make it more lively and a different vibe. I love it because I shoot my podcast on in a basement and it's kind of dungeony in here. So putting green around the area just changes the vibe of the room, and she's really professional. She delivers every single time. I love the promotional items that she gives me. Uh, you guys could go check her out at Plantitas LLC on Instagram. And like me, I know if I get a real plant, I'm going to forget to water it and then I'm going to feel really bad. So the plastic is perfect for me. But if you're mature enough to water it every day and take care of it, then I say you go the real route. Either way, you can't go wrong. It's a great product. And just remember to always support your small businesses and go get your orders in, guys. This episode is also brought to you guys by All Things Amare. It's a crafting company started by Jazz and Campos, and I go to her for anything I need personalized, from cups to t-shirts to business cards. She does it all. Maybe you have a small business that you want to promote, or maybe your girlfriend's throwing a bridal shower and she needs to put all the bridesmaids' names on like tumblers or something. She will get it done for you guys. So go check out what she can do and put your orders in. I also want to say thank you for these companies for supporting me and giving me all this promotional stuff that I could put on my shelf. It wouldn't look like that without you guys. So thank you. But like I said, I had a pretty busy weekend. And if you guys watched my previous episode, you know it was Kevin Heffernan's birthday. And we took him out to get some steaks and drink some whiskey and watch the UFC fights. And usually around July, we plan like a big weekend because the UFC usually has this thing called the International Fight Week. So they just stack one card up with like three title fights. And, it's always a good hang because you get to go eat and drink and watch some fights. So it was a lot of fun. The only bad thing about this weekend was splitting the check. Everywhere we went, except for the last place, they would not split the check. And I watched these waiters go up to these like big ass computers, and I find it hard to believe they don't have a system where you could put like guest number one, guest number two. Maybe it's a lazy thing. Maybe they think the total won't be as high, so their tips won't be high. But if you're getting 10% off everybody on the table, you might make more money. But who knows? That's a headache. But the last place we went to watch the fights, it's called Chasers in Rosemont. And the first thing the waiter said was, or the waitress said was, are you guys gonna split the check? And I was just like, yes, finally somebody that gets it, that it's not such a big hassle and everybody pays their fair share. Because when you don't split the check, somebody overpays, somebody underpays, nobody's paying their fair shares. And I suck at math, so somebody definitely overpaid, somebody definitely underpaid. And but other than that, the weekend was great. I will never say no to a steak and drinking and fights. So I had a great weekend, and I knew I was gonna be nursing a hangover. So I didn't bring anybody in just because it's kind of hard to talk to somebody when you feel like shit. Just knowing that I was gonna be alone, I decided to tackle one topic. And I was scrolling through social media and I saw that Jada and Will Smith were talking about how she got in a relationship with August Elijah. And I think they made the episode just to clear the air because the media just ran wild with it. They were making accusations that she cheated on him and that he gave August permission to fuck his wife. So they went down and sat down and said, let's make it clear. Like, we were already broken up. And Will even said he hated her. He thought he was never going to talk to her again. So after she started a relationship with August Elijah, an entanglement, she'll say. She never really admitted. Maybe it's hard to admit to somebody that you've been with for so long that you fuck somebody else. But, she kept saying entanglement. We all knew what that meant. And it made me think like for the longest time, Jada and Will were the standard of love on social media. There's this picture where Will's holding out his hands and Jada's wearing this pink dress. And from time to time, a girl would go on Facebook and say, I wish my man would show me off like this. And there was pictures of them at the beach and they were laughing. And even J. Cole put it in one of his songs saying like that Jada and Will Smith love. It was like a standard. Something that everybody wanted, something that everybody compared their relationships to. And it just quite never got there. And then we get this interview where you find out that it was kind of a lie, like they had problems big enough that it ended their relationship. And at the end of the day, it made me think like what we see on social media isn't always 100% true. And we have to start teaching ourselves and even our kids that what you see on social media, you should not compare it to your life because every time somebody posts something on social media, it's not the worst things in their life. It's the best things in their life. Everybody's living their good life. Everybody's successful. Nobody's having problems at home. Nobody's having relationship problems. And the people that are brave enough to put their business out there tend to be really annoying and get blocked a lot of the time. I'm not saying it's all bad. That's what social media was intended for. So you could connect to your friends and show them what's happening in your lives. But we kind of manipulate the image we're putting on social media. And when people do that, other people compare to that image and they say, like, God, I wish I had a perfect family like they do, or I wish I was as successful as they are. And it makes that person who's comparing their shit to the perfect shit feel like shit, feel worse. We have to start teaching our kids and ourselves not to compare to other people on social media because they're not putting their problems just like Jada and Will weren't putting their problems up. So everybody thought there was a perfect relationship. And it just made me start thinking like what else is fake? Obviously we know politics is fake. They manipulate the image to make one party look more favorable than the other. I just started thinking like I myself have to start putting things that are true. I don't post a lot, but when I do, I got to ask myself like, do I really mean this quote? Do I really Am I really living the life I'm putting on social media? I'm not saying post the bad stuff. That's your own personal business. Keep it to yourself. Nobody wants to hear that, but don't over embellish, don't try to manipulate something that's not true. Try to be as real as you possibly can. And I've tried to do this with this podcast. I come here, speak my mind, whether you like it or you don't, that's on you. I try to keep it in like a positive vibe where I'm not trying to rub people the wrong way because then nobody's listening to me because they think I'm an asshole or something. But, I'm just I'm trying to give you a perspective of what I was thinking and not to believe everything you hear on social media. And watching Jada and Will talk about their relationship and how bad it was compared to how we thought how good it was made me realize that not everything on social media is true. So from now on, you got to take everything with a grain of rice. I think that's the saying. Or just try not to believe everything and try not to compare yourself to others because it's just a fucking road down to depression. Nothing's going to come good out of it. And if you're comparing yourself and saying I'm better than them, then you're just kind of an asshole about it. Do your research, look into things, especially when it comes to politics, but especially with stuff like this where you're comparing your relationship or how successful you are. Do your research, really find out. If you, and I'm not saying hate on these people. Usually when I see somebody post something that's positive, like I got a new car, or I got a promotion or something like that, like you don't hate on them, but you also don't compare yourself to them. If anything, you strive to be like them. Whether it's true or not, look at them and be like, if they could do it, I could do it too. And I sound so corny saying that. Just like believe, achieve this and that. Just strive to be better. Don't compare and don't hate on anybody. Some people do it to make themselves feel better. Some people lie and then just go because the likes are going to be there. So they get some dopamine hit out of what they're posting. And good for them. I can't really help them. So just moral of the story was I was watching this interview and I just thought, hey, these people aren't who I thought they were. And social media isn't really what it seems to be. You know that I was thinking how it says on cars, the side mirrors, it says objects in mirror are closer than they appear. Well, objects or posts on social media aren't as real as they appear. So, just something that you can think about throughout the week. And next time you post something, maybe you'll think about how real am I being? And will others compare to this? And how will it make them feel? But other than that, I wanted to talk about the UFC and Fight Island. And when it comes to the UFC, I'm just a fucking like hardcore kind of guy. I watch everything from the little fights to the big fights, and I watch fights just to watch the fights. And a theme that I saw was that a lot of people watch the UFC, make bets, and then don't really know who they're picking. And I'm here to tell you guys that if you did just a little bit of research, maybe just watch two previous fights of the fighter you're about to pick, it could tell you everything you need to know about the fighter you're going to pick. There's a reason why Vegas has underdogs because Vegas has done their homework. And when somebody says, "Hey, I'm going to pick this guy," like it's a sure bet. Either this guy knows something I don't and has watched way more fights than I have, or he's just making a bet. Maybe the odds are good, or maybe he's dumb. A lot of people lose money because they let their ego choose for them instead of doing the research and saying, well, yeah, of course this guy's going to lose. That's why he's an underdog. And there was a lot of fights in this card that it could have gone either way. Yeah, it was Jose Aldo versus Peter Yan. It was kind of close till the end. The closest one that they had was Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. And watching the fight, I could tell you that there was a lot of controversy, and people online started saying that Max got robbed. Max didn't get robbed. The judges had it very close. I think it was off by 1 point, and maybe they saw something that you didn't see. Every time you see these judges, you could criticize them when obviously somebody won, and their scorecard makes it seem like the person who deserved to win was doing so bad, and everybody in the crowd could tell you he wasn't. But usually their judges call it pretty close, and they have like three different screens, and I'm sure they get a bunch of data that you don't. And this one was very close. I don't think Max Holloway got robbed. I think Volkanovski did just enough to get the win, and it was a good fight. So I don't know why people complain. Like, are you guys? I guess if you bet on him, you can complain a little bit, but oh well, you knew the risk when you were about to bet, so I don't think he got robbed. And for the main event, Street Jesus, George Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman, it just seemed like if with a full camp, it would have been a more interesting fight. You could tell who trained and who didn't, and obviously with 6 days to prepare, George Masvidal didn't have enough in the tank to give him the fight that he would have wanted. I know it sounds like an excuse, but at the end of the day, he wasn't 100%. Should they run it back? Yes, probably. But the UFC is probably gonna take Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman and work that angle that they're teammates and now they're gonna fight each other. And George Masvidal is gonna have to wait. And I hated the fact that George lost. One, because if he would have won that fight, it would have set up one of the biggest fights in UFC history against Conor McGregor. The facts came out that George is the second biggest revenue star fighting right now, and obviously Conor's the first. Imagine what number two and number one can do. It would have been a fucking spectacle. It would have been proportions of Khabib versus Conor or Mayweather versus Conor, but that's the fight game. You win some and you lose some, and sometimes you don't even get the matches. And maybe down the road we'll see that. Uh, I personally, I'd rather see Conor fight Nate, but or George Masvidal if he could get the belt. I think Connor's only gonna come back either for that rubber match against Nate or a belt, just to say he got like three in three different weight divisions. But again with the same with the George Masvidal fight versus Kamar Usman. If you would have done your research on George Masvidal, you would have known that he had no chance at winning this fight. You know, he could say that he's dangerous 6 days, 6 hours, or 6 months away from a fight. But if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, when George Masvidal was there, he says a week before the fight, he's weighing at 10 pounds heavier. And that's a rough cut for him. It's manageable, but it's rough. And he once fought at 155 and he had to cut 20 pounds. And he said it was the worst thing he ever did. So he stopped doing it. And then you hear that George Masvidal weighed 192 pounds coming into this fight week, 6 day notice. So you could tell that he was going to have to do that rough cut at 20 pounds and he wasn't going to be all there. And that's exactly what happened. You know, he said he barely almost made it and he almost didn't make it and stuff like that. So if you do a little bit of research, you could tell like, damn, like this guy has no shot at this. So I would see what would happen if he had a full weight camp where I would want to see what would happen if he had a full fight camp and ample time to get his weight right. If you look at Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Lee, I don't even know how to Swan Wei Lee. That's her name, right? Fuck. The previous fight, she got knocked out and she blamed it on the weight cut. She said the weight cut was very rough and she didn't manage it right. And then she fought John Wei Lee. I cannot say that girl's name for some reason. And she had managed her weight better, so she didn't get knocked out. And maybe George didn't get knocked out, but also that fucks with your cardio. That fucks with how you use your body in a fight. Everything, weight cut is a very important step of the fight process. And if we could see how easy or how hard a weight cut was for a fighter before he gets into the ring, that's when you should probably do your bets. Did this guy have the right nutritionist, the right ample time to get his body weight right? Was he too heavy during fight week? All these factors can make the difference between you winning a bet and losing a bet. And George Masvidal, you know, if you did your research and you saw that 20 pounds was a rough cut for him, especially on a 6 day notice, you probably wouldn't have bet for him. My heart wanted him to win, but my mind said Kamar Usman was going to win. And I was right. Most of the picks I made that night, other than Rose Namajunas, I got right. I said Paige Van Zandt was going to lose. I said Peter Yan was going to win. I said Alexander Volkanovski was going to win. He barely won. And I said Kamar Usman was going to win. And I swear to you, I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying that the small research I did on these fighters told me everything I needed to know. So just an insider tip on how to bet next time. If you watch the fights, do your research, watch their fights, understand who they are and how they react to adversity, and see what weight they walk around in, and then see how tough and how well they manage a weight cut. That formula has never steered me wrong. The only thing that's ever changed is the fact that it's the fight game and one punch can tell that formula to go kick rocks. Because one punch could end on the fighter you chose and you could have made all your research and that one punch just for some reason on that day just rocked the shit out of him, hit him in the right place, and now your bet's on the floor and you lost money. That's the only variable that changes. Other than that, you can always kind of tell who this fighter is, how they fight. Are they responsible? Are they professional? Are they going to take their weight serious? So do your research next time. But as far as the card goes, it was a great fucking card. I loved every second of it. And some parts I don't remember that well. But that's because the whiskey was already hitting me. But I had a lot of fun. So yeah. Well, that's the end of my podcast. I don't know what else to say. But hopefully you guys have a different view on what social media is. Maybe you take everything with a grain of salt now, and you guys can make more truthful posts because they can affect somebody who's going through some shit and they think your life is perfect. So, just keep that in mind next time you post something. And keep that in mind next time you see somebody post something that seems to be so fucking good to be true. And if you guys are betting, let me know who you guys are going to pick. Let me know if you guys got any pointers that I missed on how to bet on fights. I definitely would like to make some money. So thank you guys for listening, and please subscribe and go like the video. It definitely helps the algorithm. So thank you guys for watching.